So let's start looking at Rose Hill. Dean Evans from Winning Edge Investments with the latest. Morning to you, Dean.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
I'm well, as long as the weather's all right, Dean.
Well, I think it's looking a bit rough the next couple of days from what the forecast is telling me. So you know, we could be on another sort of heavy 9-ish track, I think, on Saturday, the way it's looking.
Yeah, look, it's a soft 7 right now, and there's been a bit of shower activity over the last couple of hours. It's stopped at the moment, but it's meant to pick up, and then tomorrow it's forecast 15 to 20 mil. Ray Hickson's joining us from Racing New South Wales. Welcome to this part of the program, Ray. Okay, we're going to get Ray up in just a moment. So, Dean, let's get cracking with these two Group 1s that we're going to look at Rose Hill. We'll start with the Tancred. Think It Over is the $4.40 price at the moment. Spanish Mission at $4.80. The Chosen One at $19. Stockman is at $13. And then you've got Jewess at $3 in this race, race number 7 on the card on Saturday. What's your overview on it?
Look, it's been won in recent years by some very high quality stayers. You know, we've seen Sir Dragonet, Very Elegant, Villiers, El Mandan, Jamaica, Preferment, Hartnell, Silent Achiever, Manigar win in the last 10 years. So it's a good horses race. Having a look at the profile over the last sort of 10 years, and I focus just on the wet tracks. You know, there's sort of 5 runnings in the last 10 years on really wet tracks. 3 winners 4th up and 2 5th up. So you really do want to be pretty fit. 2 within a 7-day break, backing up off the round, but 3 off a 14-day break. And it really is a race where those sort of hard fit on paces with proven Group 1 staying ability come to the fore. Every winner in the last 10 years has come out of either the Randwick or the Australian Cup. And 5 of the last 9 winners were leading on the turn. So it's not sort of a race where they settle well back and charge home late. It's a race where the really high class, good quality stayers tend to, you know, push forward and kick away.
Okay, we reckon we're right with Ray Hickson now. He just wanted the second build-up, didn't he, from Racing New South Wales. Welcome to the program, Ray.
Hopefully you've got me this time, Andrew.
No, beautiful, mate. Loud and clear. It's an intriguing sort of Tancred, isn't it, with the makeup of field that we've got and, I guess, the prospect of some rain.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's too much doubt that we're going to be on a heavy track, Andrew. You know, we've only had a little trickle of rain overnight, but, you know, it's supposed to be coming sort of today and tomorrow. So I think we're confidently can be doing a heavy track form, but that hasn't really been a problem over the last couple of weeks for doing the form. I think it's actually knowing what you're going to be dealing with is so much better than those days where there's, you know, occasional showers predicted and you're on a good track and you don't know what you're doing the form for or those kinds of things. So look, I think that's fine as far as I'm concerned. And the Tancred's going to be very, very interesting from a couple of perspectives. We've got Think It Over up the top. Obviously, heavy track form hasn't been the best. Tries 2,400 metres just for the second time in his career. We've got the emerging mare Jewess, who's just really starting to develop into a high-class stayer. And then we've got the really big wet tracker like Stockman and the import like Spanish Mission coming up to Sydney for the first time. So there's so many elements to this race.
Well, there is, and let's talk about this Australian Cup win, Dean, of Jewess. I mean, to the eye, she just simply couldn't have been more impressive. She put some really good horses away so easily.
She was very impressive. She's been impressive a couple of times as she gets over a trip. You know, a Queensland Oaks win was pretty sensational as well. You know, she's run plus 7.7 for the last 1,000 metres. She's run the second quickest last 1,000, fifth quickest last 600 metres of the meeting, and that's in spite of the fact that they ran 4.4 lengths above par for the first section. So it's not like they walked early. Very impressive win. And, you know, you look back to her Chipping Norton run start before, and she was very unlucky there. If you watch the replay, she probably could have won that race as well. So she's absolutely flying. She profiles really perfectly for this. She's one of the only runners that's 4th up, so she's had that extra run. She handles the wet. She's proven over the trip, the 2,400, and they're all massive ticks for a race like this. So I think, for me, Jouet is clearly on top.
Clearly on top. That's how strong you are. What are the other? I want to bring it up, and I wanted to chat with him today, and he's gone quiet on the phone. Ian Finn with this Avon Fury. There's always a story behind it. There's got to be one here. It's 200 to 1, but Ray, he's whacked it in the race, and I didn't mind it at Rosehill. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's winning or anything like that, but there must be a good story behind it, given maybe the wet track.
Look, I'd say that's a fair reason behind it. You know, got to remember that Curator Storm won this race at, I don't remember the exact price he started about 20 years ago, but came off a Hawkesbury Class 1 win and went into the Tancred and beat a high-class lineup. So look, it's not without precedent. Maybe he's inspired a little bit by the deeds of Shelby 66 in the past month. You've got to be in it to win it. He obviously loves a wet track. You know, whether he hasn't really proven himself at the 2,400 metres yet, but look, you know, how you got to admire their spirit. You got to have a go. He's in the race, and hopefully he runs well for the connections. Yeah,
let's hope so. He won this race, Curator. I'm just trying to find its exact price, but obviously it just went over.
Yeah, I was there that day. It was at least 150 to 1, I think.
Yeah.
And beating some very good horses, Freemason and I think Northerly might have been that race too. So you beat a very good field.
All right. So Ray, are you as confident as Dean with Edward Cummings' mare or not?
Look, she has to be the horse to beat, Andrew. She's got this really great sense of timing about her. As Dean said, you know, she ticked that box on the heavy track in the Chipping Norton where she was terribly unlucky, and you can make a big case that she should have won that race, if not been breathing right down Very Elegant's neck. She was brilliant in the Australian Cup. She's ticked the 2,400 metre box. And speaking to Edward Cummings, he thinks that she's just going to be this really high-class stayer over the next 12 months, looking perhaps towards a Melbourne Cup in the shorter term, maybe a Sydney Cup, and where she's got 51 kilos. Am I as bullish? Possibly not, but she's the horse to beat, clearly. The horse that really worries me, Andrew, is Think It Over.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a chat to Kerry Parker yesterday, and it's a little bit of an experimental run, I guess. He's certainly bred to handle 2,400 metres, being by So You Think out of as a Beal mare. And the way he's been racing over the past season and a half or so, he just really doesn't put a foot wrong. I know his heavy track form isn't brilliant, but he did handle it okay in the Chipping Norton. And his only real conviction on a heavy track was in the Rosehill Gold Cup a couple of years ago, where he was obviously not racing with the same amount of confidence. Slower tempo of 2,400 metres. He's going to put himself there. I just think about Sir Dragonet winning this race last year. He was, just behind them a little bit in the Ranvet Stakes behind a Dave and Very Elegant. And then he's just blown away a field that looks a little bit like this one to some degree in the Tancred. Obviously, a horse like Jewess wasn't in that race, so she's the sticky point for me. But I wouldn't be surprised if Think It Over is very, very competitive, despite having a plenty of things against him.
Dean, who's the threat? Is there one?
Look, I think Duet is hard to beat. I actually have Think It Over as a lay. I just think going through the previous historicals of this race, you want a really proven 2,400 metre horse. And while he's an absolutely high quality mile 2,000 metre horse, I'm not sure about him over 2,400. And I think the wet just doesn't suit him. He did run well in the Chipping Norton, but I'm not too keen on him at the price. I think there's a high quality stayer in the Chosen One. That's a good price here. He's the Master Murray Baker. He's a Group 1 winner this prep, and he's Sydney Cup and Caulfield Cup placed, and he handles the wet. So I think he's one that can actually surprise a few. Spanish Mission has the class, but going through his European form, there's a couple of big flops that he has, and they were on heavy tracks. So I'm not so sure whether the wet track suits him either. Angel of Truth and is just a proven stayer and a mudlark. So I think he's a type of on-pace stayer that could actually surprise. And Great House, another one who's sort of the further the better and does seem to handle the wet. So I think if there's sort of a knockout, the Chosen One, Angel of Truth or Great House might be it. The Duet on top.
Okay, so that's the thoughts around the Tancred. Let's move to the other Group 1. It's the Vinery, and Gee, Dean, there's some good mixture. I reckon there'll be some good stories to come out of this race going forward.
I agree. This is a really, really good quality 3-year-old filly race here. There's just some really promising staying fillies engaged. We've got Fangirl, who we've talked about quite a lot in the past, and she has ability to bounce back here over the trip. Hinged, who won the Group 1 Surround 2 starts back and was very good third in the Coolmore. You've got Pretty Amazing, who's won 3 from 3 this prep. Was very impressive in a Kembla Grange win, and the sectionals that she's running are of a very, very good horse. She's now going to have to run on a wet track, but everything she's sort of running plus 11s, plus 15s last start. The numbers are actually off the chart, so she's very impressive. Then you got Gypsy Goddess, who's unbeaten from 5 in Queensland, and Never Been Kissed, who's a Group 1 winner. Yearning, who's a Group 1 winner, and Pink Ivory, who's very well bred out of Lotteria, who was a Group 1 winning mare, is trained by John Sargent, and she's running plus 11s down there at Gosford and Newcastle, and looking very impressive too. So it's a really exciting field. There's going to be some very good horses come out of it.
They've been very keen to get Pink Ivory in it, obviously, at $23 on the way, hopefully, to the Oaks for them. Ray, you would have looked at the Queensland runs of Gypsy Goddess. It's the big test now coming to a mixture that Dean's just gone through, but you've just got to rely and trust David Van Dyke that he knows he's got a good filly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt she's very good. Just where she stands is almost impossible to line up at the moment. I don't think I've seen an easier win than her first up win at Eagle Farm a couple of weeks ago. I think she was home and hosed at the 600. Like, you could just see Kyle Wilson-Taylor sitting there on her and just pulled her to the outside, and you just think this is just going to go straight past them, and she did. The thing is, I mean, she's won 5 from 5, and you can't do much more than that. One of those was the Group 3 Grand Prix, which in its current position probably will never, ever live up to even a listed race standard. I don't see how that, throwing that a week before Christmas is going to attract a strong field. So there's got to be a question mark over that. And there's obviously going to be a question mark over a heavy track. But that said, you can only win. And David Van Dyke is, very clever trainer. He knows what it takes to win these good races, and you can't do anything more than what she's done. I'm leaning to wanting to take her on. The two horses that I'm most interested in are Hinged and Fangirl. And I think the reasons for those have pretty well already been covered. But Fangirl was a horse that, I was ridiculously bullish about her chances in the Far Lap Stakes. And the way that race panned out, it total forgive run from Fangirl. She just couldn't possibly win the way the race was run. Perhaps she was looking for further. Perhaps it's a sign that she might be reaching a level. Who knows? But I've got to give her another chance. But Hinged is the one that really seems to be just in that fantastic form. Her first up run behind Fangirl was brilliant. She won the Surround in that tight finish with Star Tontes, and she was excellent against the older mares in the Coolmore. So you've got Brenton Abdullah riding on the crest of a wave at the moment. She's got no worries at all with a heavy track. You would think she's drawn quite well, given the way the tracks have been playing in the last week particularly, where you had to sort of be not necessarily closer to the inside, but in the first half of the track to be most effective. There's plenty to like about her. The other one I'm having trouble lining up is the Kembla Grange form, or the Kembla Grange Classic form out of Goulburn, with Pretty Amazing, who found the fast lane down the outside fence there, but obviously had a bit on them. And James McDonald has taken the ride on this one, so that's a bit of a pointer towards her as well. Fascinating race, and there are a few others I haven't mentioned yet, but Hinged and Fangirl are the two I'm zeroing in on most.
The 2 and the 4. How did you take that Goulburn race, Dean?
Yeah, it was very, very impressive. The numbers that she ran, sort of plus 15 for the last 800, plus 13 for the last 600. She ran the quickest closing sectionals of the time for every section, from the 1200 to the 200. She also did that at Canterbury to start 4. So it's not often that you see a sort of 3-year-old filly with just these single-digit sort of performances where they're just top of the tree. And she's been pretty much like that for all 3 of her starts. So I think the fact that James McDonald has stuck with her over Fangirl too is an interesting pointer. I agree with Ray's summation. I think Gypsy Goddess is probably one to take on, second up over on a heavy track for the first time. I have to bet around her, but I think Fangirl hinged and pretty amazing. It's pretty hard to split the three Waller runners. And then, I think the filly of most interest, particularly from an Oaks perspective, is Pink Ivory. I did ask sort of members to have a little something at the 50-1 for the Oaks after a Gosford win, and she's been very impressive. In her last Newcastle win, she won by 4.5 lengths. She ran the quickest last 1,000 of the day. She was sort of plus 14, so she's running some really huge numbers there at the provincials. She's bred to be very, very good, and John Sargent knows what to do with the 3-year-old fillies. So I think if there's a knockout, I think Pink Ivory is actually going to measure up to these top fillies.
Well, right now, if you've got a 50 because you're a member of the Winning Edge Investments, well, you've done well, because right now it's $13 in the Oaks, so it has tightened up. There's an intriguing group, and it's just a question of the track condition and I mean, the eye with the Queensland filly is the one thing that Ray mentioned there, Dean, is just the way that she runs. This is a totally different race, the quality of it, but the way she lets down from where she is in the second half of the field has been impressive.
Yeah, she's obviously very good, and that's what makes this such an intriguing and high quality race. She's sort of running plus 10s there, so there's nothing too wrong with her sectionals as well. I think this is a high quality race. There's Group 1 winners like Yearning and Never Been Kissed that we're not even talking about.
Yeah.
I think that gives you an indication of how strong this field is, and I think we're going to see a lot of these fillies running in a lot of Group 1s from 1,400 to 2,400 in the coming couple of years. There's just a really good crop of 3-year-old fillies here, and it's a good race.
They're the boys' thoughts on the Group 1s. Ray, as we leave you, looking at the card, have you got a best bet, or are you waiting to see just what the weather does?
I'll decide my best bet a bit later on today. I'm just wanting to delve a little bit more into the form, Andrew. Some pretty deep races here to go through. Like the Star Kingdom is a race I'm just looking at the moment, and it's you got Mautai, the favourite, on the back of that barrier trial win on Monday by 10 lengths, and you almost want to find something to beat him. But now, look, I'll reserve my best bet for a little while longer, Andrew, and just have a bit more of a look. Obviously, as I said, I think we're definitely going to be playing on heavy track, and I just hope we don't have rain on the day, because that's the only thing that would spoil it. I mean, we can't do anything else about the track condition. It is what it is, but it's just that conditions on the day that's the main concern.
Good on you, Ray. Thanks for giving us your early thoughts regarding the Group 1s, and we'll chat to you Saturday morning on Winners.
No problem, Andrew. Thanks a lot.
Good on you. Ray Hickson joining us there from Racing New South Wales. Dean Evans here for Winning Edge Investments. Treat betting like a business. Become a member. Gamble responsibly. Call the 1-800-858-858. You might be able to get another one of those $50 tips that Dean puts out on Winning Edge Investments. So, Dean, we're going to finish off this morning by looking at tomorrow night, the Group 1 Withiam Reed at the Valley. Right now, Marabi is $1.65 to win this race. It's hard to sort of say that they're threats, but the closest to Marabi, the Inferno Camel Passer at 15, the Astrologist at 13, 17 September Run, and 17 for Generation. How tough is this race going to be compared to some of the others?
Yeah, she's 7 from 7 now, Marabi. She's got the Group 1 win last start. It's a very, very skinny price for a horse in a 1,200 metre Group 1 at Moonee Valley. Moonee Valley can throw up some results, and there's a fair bit of speed here. There was in the Oakley Plate as well, but again, Marabi's got the likes of sort of Jonker, Camel Passer, Snapper, and the Astrologist kicking up inside her. So, if they do decide to sort of clap on and put a bit of speed on, then it's going to be another test for her. She's very clearly the one to beat, but I'm not one to take $1.65 about a horse in a race like this. If I'm looking for something to beat her, there's certainly some value around. A horse like Trekking, his last 3 starts of this track, he's run 3 Group 1 placings, and you know, he's well weighted here as a high quality sprinter who you know was only beaten 2 lengths in the Everest last prep. You've got the Inferno, who again, you know, this time last prep was beating the nose in the Moya at this track at Group 1 level, and ran in the Everest. You know, clipped heels first up in the Lightning, so he was pretty stiff there, and I think you can forgive that run. And then you got September Run, who you know, is more of a Flemington horse than a Moonee Valley horse, but all of her sort of runs at Moonee Valley have been, you know, she hasn't been too far. She was sort of a length off the Inferno. She was 3 lengths off in the Moya. She was 4th in the William Reed when there was sort of probably a rails bias, and she came right out wide. So, you know, if there's a swooping opportunity for September Run, she was a good 3rd in the Newmarket. So, you know, you're sort of looking at prices about good horses like tracking the Inferno and September Run, and they're $26, $15, and you know, $17. I mean, they're good prices about genuine Group 1 sprinters. And so I think there's an opportunity to have a little small bet, and if you're absolutely sure about Marabi, you can always, you know, save on Marabi and have something on those others to make it a winning race.
The 1, the 3, and the 8. The one thing is that a few of those that have just drawn tricky, haven't they? September Run's out there, Jonker, but Jonker's going to go forward, so those others might be able just to get across and get into a position, you know, by the time they, you know, start turning at the 800.
That's right. There's just a lot of speed in this race. I've sort of got 5 horses that run at similar early speeds, you know, so I think there's going to be plenty of speed on. And you got horses that you know, will just sit behind, like the General Bose Marine ones and Generations. But I think there's a real opportunity for a swooper in this race, and I think the lads are trekking the Inferno and September Run. If the race is run hectically up front, then they're just 3 very high quality, proven Group 1 sprinters who can absolutely swoop in a race like this.
And Trekking had a look around the valley on Monday morning just to be reunited preparation work into this race. So the numbers there, 9 Marabi, but the others to include 1, 3 and 8 maybe the way you're playing the William Reed. Dean can be found at winningedgeinvestments.com. There's tips and ratings from professional punters throughout the Autumn Carnival, but make sure you gamble responsibly. 1-800-858-858. Dean, thanks for your thoughts again. It's a very popular segment, this one on a Thursday, and the Golden Slipper rails position just did it again, thankfully.
Yeah, it's now 17 from 19 years, I think, and well, hopefully the listeners listen, because I did say the best thing to do would be try to get on in the run, and from what I heard, Fireburn was $280 in the run at one point. So
you're kidding me.
Hopefully someone snapped that and listened.
Oh, fair dinkum. I thought I was going to ride about 3 weeks ago when I backed it, let alone that price. No, that was a good the rails was the spot to be. Good on you, Dean. We'll chat again next week.
Cheers, Andrew. Have a good one.
Dean Evans joining us there from winningedgeinvestments.com. Become a member. You might get that $50 tip along the way that Pink Ivory is around